This morning I went to a protest medic training here in Portland, and it was a little bit bleak. Nothing like spending your Saturday morning hearing a medic who's down at the ICE facility night after night talking to you about how to pack QuikClot into penetrating wounds. Talking about how for a while now ICE agents have been aiming for medics first. Yeah, that would be a Geneva Convention violation, except the Geneva Convention doesn't apply to the government attacking its own citizens. But they're going for the medics first with the rubber bullets and the tear gas so that they're incapacitated and unable to render aid to other protesters. Hey, America, are we great yet? Is this the land of the free and the home of the brave? Listening to the firefighters, medics who ran this training today talking about how sometimes the ambulances won't come down to ICE because it's basically like a hazmat situation. There's so much tear gas and so many pepper balls and shit like that they won't come down there because it would contaminate their entire ambulance, and they've had to bring people up, out, and away from the ICE facility so that an ambulance can get to them. Sometimes it's about the crowds, but it's just it's not a good scene. And I had a couple of moments in this training today where I was like, this is awful. This is terrible. But then I looked around the room and it's like a room full of good people who are out there spending their Saturday morning, our volunteer trainers who have decades of experience who are trying to educate us. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get down about how terrible ICE is. I'm not going to get down about the fact that I would rather be home in front of the wood stove. It's a cold, rainy day in Portland. I'd rather have my coffee and my knitting and sit in front of the wood stove, but I'm doing this instead. Learning about all the people who've gotten their eye put out by ICE agents intentionally aiming for the eyes with less lethals like tear gas canisters and rubber bullets, which is illegal, by the way. I'm not going to get down about that because there's so many good people organizing to resist. People are giving so much of themselves, right? When I was talking a couple of days ago about the different levels of organizing for an anti-coup, we are in this phase right now where we are building strength and momentum so we can carry off these much bigger actions. And part of that is gaining skills and knowledge. And I think it's really important to go to these trainings, to learn these skills, to equip ourselves, but also at these events, we connect with other people. We form relationships. We join new signal chats. We share resources. Or like at the end of the training, they were talking about, hey, can we come together and basically form a group where we can buy medical supplies in bulk and then disperse them into our separate first aid kits? That way we conserve resources, we save our pennies. This is the kind of mutual aid and community organizing that is really, really crucial. So I'm so grateful that Indivisible D3 put on this event today. I'm so glad that I got to go. I learned a ton. I think I want to talk in the next video about an updated list about what you should and shouldn't bring to a protest, because a year ago I made that video and things have changed a lot. But for the purpose of this video, I want to talk about situational awareness, because the beginning of the workshop today, they discussed it at length. And this is something that's kind of my wheelhouse. This is something I'm really good at. In permaculture, we call this observe and interact. It's one of the core permaculture principles. I guess in the firefighter world, they call it sizing up. You got to size up the situation. What we're really talking about here is situational awareness and risk assessment. And these are things that we're doing, observations that we're making, assessments that we're taking before the protest, when we arrive, throughout the protest repeatedly, and then afterward. I was going to say we want to do a postmortem, but that's probably not the best word. I think my safety team says, let's do a debrief, right? We want to learn from our mistakes and figure out how to have more effective and safe interaction at the next event. So it's always really good afterward that we all have a chat about how things went. Again, these are important for our safety and our growth as individuals, but also for our safety team or our affinity group, our group of protesters. And it can feel like, gosh, so many meetings. Why are we gaming out everything? Why are we rehashing everything that happened? It helps us improve, y'all. We learn from our mistakes, and it's really important that we go through these processes. And likewise, just like the training this morning, we're building those relationships. We're cementing that solidarity with each other. Okay, so I've done several videos on risk assessment. Our risk assessment is constantly changing. And this is a personal risk assessment. This is how much am I willing to risk at this event? Am I somebody who's willing to get detained? Am I somebody who's willing to put myself in a position where ICE may brutalize my body? Or am I like a caregiver for somebody? Am I the primary breadwinner? And I actually can't undertake that level of risk. Ineffective civil resistance, it's always no shame and no judgment. We don't know what somebody else's risk threshold is. We can't get inside their heads and know their lives inside and out and do that risk assessment for them. We have to trust the people that we're partnering with to be able to assess for themselves where they have to draw a line and say, I'm out, I'm dipping out right now. And we need to respect that. We need to not push people to do things that they're not prepared to do. But likewise, we need to help people understand what they may face in the moment, because risk assessment requires us to have consent, right? We have to consent to the things that we are stepping into. We have to know, how likely is it that I may get in a position that crosses my boundary? And like that's all part of how we keep each other safe. It's all part of how we make sure that our direct actions are effective, because we can't have people balking in the middle of it. So you want to do that risk assessment, and you want to do it repeatedly, because the more oppressive the regime is, the more repressive the regime is, the more shit that they do, your risk threshold is going to change based on whether or not you feel like the regime is coming for you, right? And also your life circumstances may change. And every single protest is different. No Kings 3, entirely different risk assessment than going down to ICE at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night. So after we've done our risk assessment beforehand and we know that we're going to this event, let's pretend it's down at ICE. We're going to this event and we're like, okay, we're prepared. We are willing to accept the risk. Then we need to focus on situational awareness, because our risk is going to shift and change as the situation we've stepped into changes. Situational awareness is our ability to perceive, understand, and effectively respond to the situation that we're in. In permaculture, we say observe and interact. You are observing first before you take action, because you need to do that assessment. You need to have awareness of what's going on around you before you undertake an action. But likewise, once you start acting, you're still continually observing, right? You're adding more and more data. I do want to caution folks, though, and our trainer said this as well today, you don't want to get into a situation where you have analysis paralysis, where you're trying to make such a comprehensive list of what's going on around you that you're not able to take any action at all. You're too preoccupied with trying to have too detailed of a picture. So finding that balance of like, I'm making these points, I'm logging these points. Okay, now I can take action, because we're doing shit, y'all, to stop the fascists and defend democracy. Our goal with situational awareness is to gather information, analyze it, and then move and take action based on what we have brought in. So here is by no means a comprehensive list of things that you want to do when you show up and you're doing your size up. You're engaged in situational awareness at a protest. And this is not just for the safety team, this is for all of us. You want to look for escape routes from your location. I get very twitchy at the ICE facility. I get very twitchy at the front of City Hall in Portland. I feel like those are protest locations that have a lot of risk, a lot of liability to them if there's going to be bad actors. They often feel like fish in a barrel situations to me. I don't like going to those events, although I do. So you want to look for escape routes, especially if you feel like this is not ideal for crowd control. And and speaking of, you want to look to see if anybody in the crowd has weapons, right? And we're looking not just in front of us and behind us and left and right, we're looking up and down, right? ICE facility, they're on the roof. If you're up on a hill, you're looking who's down the hill from us, right? You're also looking at where are the sidewalks, where are the streets, what's the lay of the land, what's the terrain, especially if we're trying to accommodate for people with disabilities at our protest. Where's their gravel, where's their grass, where's their big potholes, where are their wheelchair accessible ramps, etc., etc. We want to do a scan and look at what our big safety risks are. Where are the points where there are significant risks, and are there ways we can mitigate them? One of the things my safety team always does before we do an event is that we get a Google map of the area where the protest is going to be and the surrounding location, and then we map out all our routes. And we look for things like locked gates. We look for things like, where do we want to have everybody reassemble if we have to do some kind of emergency dispersal? Where are there blind spots where we might be putting ourselves at risk? Where are there dead ends? Where is there the potential for cars and protesters to cross each other? If you can go to this site ahead of the protest and do an assessment in real life as well as Google Maps, go for it. That's super helpful. But when you get there the day of, you definitely want to do that size up. And remember, it's not one and done. In situational awareness, we often talk about the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, you do a 20-second assessment about 20 feet in circumference around you. If you're on the safety team, I would argue you should look further than that. And actually, for anybody, if they're known hazard areas, you want to check in with those places as well. And the entire protest, we're having our head on a swivel, right? There's the 20-minute check-ins, there's the continuing to reassess, but in general, we are alert, our heads are up, we're having our phones put away. We don't have our heads in our phones, right? Our phones are in a Faraday bag. You want to be present in the moment. You are observing, then you're analyzing, and then you're taking action over and over and over throughout the protest. If you have other things that you tend to look for or focus on when you are arriving at a protest, when you're engaging in that kind of size up activity, I would love to hear about it.